What happens when a chance encounter turns your life upside down? This thought swirled through Maya's mind as she adjusted her hair in the lavish mirror of the restaurant's bathroom. The ornate surroundings reflected her anxious expression, a mix of excitement and dread. Tonight was supposed to be special. She had been looking forward to this date for weeks. It was with someone she had met through mutual friends, a man named Alex who seemed charming in their conversations. But as she stood there, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses floated through the restroom door, reminding her of the world that existed just beyond this room, a world that felt increasingly intimidating. Before we step into today's story, let me share something from the heart. These intense romances, the quiet looks, the tension, the moments that change everything, only exist because of people like you. I'm getting closer to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one truly matters. If these stories make you feel something, please subscribe and stay with me. Now, let's begin. Taking a deep breath, Maya splashed some water on her face, hoping to shake off the initial nerves that had settled into her stomach. Tonight, she wanted to be confident, to embrace the possibility of romance. Yet, as she moved to dry her hands, a hushed conversation caught her attention from the other side of the bathroom door. "He's coming tonight, you know. They say he's looking for someone who can handle the pressure," a voice said, low and conspiratorial. Maya paused, her heart racing. The voice was unfamiliar, but there was a weight to the words that sent a shiver down her spine. She leaned closer to the door, trying to catch more of the conversation. "I heard he doesn't take rejection lightly. Just last week, someone crossed him and..." The rest of the sentence was cut off by laughter from another group of women entering the bathroom. Maya quickly turned her focus back to her reflection, trying to shake off the eerie feeling that had begun to settle in her chest. What were they talking about? Who was coming? The chilling mention of someone who didn't take rejection lightly lingered in her mind. Pushing the thoughts aside, she stepped out of the bathroom, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. The ambience of the restaurant enveloped her, a lavish display of crystal chandeliers and elegant table settings that contrasted sharply with the unsettling conversation she had just overheard. As she walked toward her table, her eyes scanned the room, searching for Alex. She spotted him seated at a corner table, looking as handsome as she remembered. He wore a tailored suit that fit him perfectly, his dark hair styled just so. When he noticed her, a warm smile spread across his face, easing some of her earlier anxiety. "Hey, you made it," he said, standing to pull out her chair. "Of course, wouldn't miss it for the world," she replied, trying to mirror his enthusiasm even as the unease from the bathroom echoed in her thoughts. As they settled into conversation, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Alex was charming and engaged, but there was an underlying tension in the restaurant she could sense, a buzz of energy that made her skin prickle. The laughter and chatter around them felt both vibrant and distant, as if the patrons were part of an entirely different world. "So, what do you do, Maya?" Alex asked, leaning in slightly, his interest genuine. "I work in marketing," she replied, relaxing a bit as they talked. "It can be hectic, but I love the creativity involved." "That sounds exciting," he responded, and for a moment, Maya felt a genuine connection. They discussed their interests, shared stories about their lives, but still, the earlier conversation haunted her. "Have you ever been to one of those charity galas?" Alex asked, breaking the rhythm of their discussion. "I hear they can be quite the spectacle." "Not really my scene," she admitted, only half listening as she caught sight of a group of men in the restaurant's corner. One man, in particular, stood out. He wore a dark suit that seemed to absorb the light around him, exuding an aura of power that felt palpable even from a distance. His eyes scanned the room with a predatory intensity, and for a moment, their gazes locked. Maya's heart raced, and she quickly looked away, focusing back on Alex. Part of her felt drawn to that man, though she couldn't explain why. There was something dangerously captivating about him, an allure that made her want to know more, yet a warning bell rang in her mind. "Are you all right?" Alex asked, concern in his voice. "Yeah, just. I don't know. I think I'm still getting used to this place," she said, forcing a smile. As the evening progressed, Maya found it increasingly hard to focus on her date. Every now and then, her eyes drifted back to the dark-suited man, who remained at his table, speaking to his companions, but every now and then, he would glance in her direction, and her heart would skip a beat. The atmosphere shifted, laughter became more strained, conversations lowered to whispers. Maya felt a chill creep down her spine, and she excused herself to the restroom under the pretense of needing a moment to breathe. Once inside, she took a deep breath, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched. But as she stood at the sink, she couldn't ignore the tension coiling in her stomach. What was it about that man? Why did the mention of danger echo in her mind? Something was brewing, and Maya's instincts screamed that she was about to find herself entangled in a world much darker than her own. Little did she know, the evening was just beginning, and her life would change forever. Maya took a deep breath as she stepped out of the bathroom, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling that had gripped her during those few moments of eavesdropping. The luxurious ambience of the restaurant enveloped her with its shimmering lights and the soft murmur of well-dressed patrons enjoying their meals. It was a stark contrast to the dark undertones of the conversation she had overheard. She could still hear snippets echoing in her mind, the mention of someone who didn't take rejection lightly. Before she could dwell too long on those thoughts, she spotted Alex waiting at their table, his handsome face breaking into a welcoming smile. He looked every bit the part of the charming gentleman she had hoped for, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit that accentuated his build. "Hey, you made it," he exclaimed, standing to pull out her chair. "Of course," Maya replied, forcing herself to smile as she settled into her seat. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." As they began to talk, she struggled to concentrate on Alex's animated descriptions of his recent business trip. His voice was smooth, a pleasant distraction from her swirling thoughts, but the earlier unease lingered in the back of her mind. "What do you do, Maya?" he asked, leaning in slightly, his genuine interest evident. "I work in marketing," she answered, her voice steadying with each word. "It can be hectic, but I love the creativity involved." "Sounds exciting," he responded, and for a moment, Maya felt a genuine connection. They exchanged stories about their lives, their dreams, and their aspirations. Yet, despite the warmth of the conversation, her mind kept drifting back to that imposing figure she had seen earlier. As Alex spoke, she couldn't help but glance at the dark-suited man in the corner of the room. He sat with a group of equally well-dressed men, but there was something about him that set him apart. His presence was magnetic, as if he commanded respect merely by existing. Those piercing eyes roamed the restaurant, taking in the surroundings, but every now and then, they would land on her, sending a shiver down her spine. "What's on your mind?" Alex asked, interrupting her reverie. Maya blinked, refocusing on the charming man before her. "Oh, sorry. Just a bit distracted, I guess. The place is a bit overwhelming." "Yeah, it can be a lot," he agreed, his tone light. "But it's a great spot. I love the ambience here." She nodded, but her attention drifted again towards the corner. The man's gaze was locked onto her now, and she felt an inexplicable pull toward him. It was both thrilling and terrifying. She couldn't fathom why she felt this way. "Are you all right?" Alex asked, concern lacing his voice. "Yeah, just. I don't know. I think I'm still getting used to this place," she managed to say, forcing another smile as she turned back to him. As the evening wore on, Maya found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on her date. Laughter rose and fell around them, but it felt distant, almost like a background noise to the tension she felt building within her. She excused herself to the restroom, needing a moment to breathe and clear her thoughts. Inside, she took a moment to splash cold water on her face, staring at her reflection in the mirror. What was happening to her? She was supposed to be enjoying a nice dinner, but instead, her heart raced with anxiety. The dark-suited man lingered in her mind, a shadow that wouldn't leave her. Just then, she heard voices outside the bathroom door, and instinctively, she leaned closer to listen. "I heard he's coming tonight. He's got a reputation, you know," one woman said, her voice laced with excitement. "Yeah, but he's not someone you want to cross. Last week, someone crossed him and, The rest of the sentence was cut off by laughter from another group of women entering the bathroom. Maya quickly turned her focus back to her reflection, trying to shake off the eerie feeling that had begun to settle in her chest. What were they talking about? Who was coming? The chilling mention of someone who didn't take rejection lightly lingered in her mind. Pushing the thoughts aside, she stepped out of the bathroom, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. The ambience of the restaurant enveloped her, a lavish display of crystal chandeliers and elegant table settings that contrasted sharply with the unsettling conversation she had just overheard. As she walked toward her table, her eyes scanned the room, searching for Alex. She spotted him seated at a corner table, looking as handsome as she remembered. He wore a tailored suit that fit him perfectly, his dark hair styled just so. When he noticed her, a warm smile spread across his face, easing some of her earlier anxiety. "Hey, you made it," he said, standing to pull out her chair. "Of course, wouldn't miss it for the world," she replied, trying to mirror his enthusiasm even as the unease from the bathroom echoed in her thoughts. As they settled into conversation, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Alex was charming and engaged, but there was an underlying tension in the restaurant she could sense, a buzz of energy that made her skin prickle. The laughter and chatter around them felt both vibrant and distant, as if the patrons were part of an entirely different world. "Are you enjoying your dinner?" Alex asked, and she nodded, forcing herself to focus on him. "Yeah, it's great. I just love the atmosphere here," she replied, glancing around the room. But her eyes betrayed her, flitting once again to the dark-suited man who seemed to have a magnetic pull that she couldn't resist. As the minutes ticked by, Maya could feel the tension in the air growing thicker. The earlier laughter had faded, and whispers replaced it. She could sense something brewing beneath the surface, a storm gathering that was about to break. Before she could dwell on it further, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning, she found herself face to face with the dark-suited man from earlier. His gaze was intense, and her heart raced as he stepped closer. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and smooth, sending a shiver down her spine. "Excuse me," she stammered, caught off guard. "This place isn't safe for you," he continued, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "What do you mean?" she managed to ask, but the words felt inadequate, a mere echo of the confusion swirling in her mind. "Just, trust me," he replied, his tone brokering no argument. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, leaving her feeling more confused than ever. Maya glanced back at Alex, who was watching her with a frown, concern etched on his face. "Are you okay?" he asked again, and all she could do was nod, though she felt anything but fine. The evening was far from over, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was about to be pulled into a world she never anticipated. Little did she know, the encounter with the dark-suited man would change everything. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Maya felt an unsettling tension in the air as she navigated the world that had suddenly transformed around her. The dark-suited man's warning echoed in her mind, a chilling reminder that her life was shifting in ways she couldn't fully grasp. Despite her reservations, there was an undeniable pull toward this unfamiliar territory, especially when it came to Victor. She couldn't deny the allure of his magnetic presence, nor could she ignore the danger intertwined with it. As days turned into weeks, Maya found herself increasingly immersed in the chaotic world of the Bratva, a realm where power dynamics shifted like the tides. Victor was always at the center, a force of nature that drew her in, igniting a blend of fear and fascination. Each encounter revealed deeper layers of his character, and while she felt the thrill of their connection growing, there was also an ever-present caution whispering in her ear. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was playing with fire. One evening, they were thrown together for a project that required both their expertise. The air crackled with tension as they worked side by side, her heart racing every time their hands brushed against each other. Maya was acutely aware of the way Victor's dark eyes seemed to linger on her, filled with a mix of admiration and something more primal. "Maya," he said one evening as they reviewed plans late into the night at his lavish apartment, "you have a unique perspective. You see things others overlook." His voice was low, each word dripping with sincerity that sent shivers down her spine. "Thank you, but I'm just a regular person," she replied, attempting to downplay the effect he had on her. "You have your empire. I'm just trying to contribute my part." Victor leaned closer, his gaze intense. "You're more than just a contributor. You're a part of this now." The weight behind his words sent her heart racing, a delicious mix of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. As they delved deeper into the project, Maya began to witness the raw power Victor wielded. During one meeting with potential investors, she felt the atmosphere shift dramatically. Victor's demeanor changed. He was no longer the charming man she knew. Instead, he transformed into a master strategist, exuding authority that demanded respect. The way he commanded the room was mesmerizing, but it also terrified her. "Maya," he said during a break, pulling her aside into a quiet corner of the room. "You need to understand that this world isn't safe. There are people who would do anything to undermine what I'm building." His tone was grave, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. "Is that why you keep me close?" she asked, searching for answers, feeling both drawn to him and wary of what that meant. "It's not just that," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're the only one I can trust right now." The revelation sent waves of confusion crashing over her. Trust? What did he mean by that? She was merely a professional colleague, albeit one he seemed to have a complicated relationship with. Yet, the way he looked at her made her feel like she was the only person in the room, as if the chaos of the outside world faded away when they were together. As they worked late into the night, the chemistry between them became palpable, a tangible thread that pulled them closer. She caught herself stealing glances at him, noticing the way his jaw tightened when he focused and how his lips curled slightly when he was amused. Each moment felt like a dance, a delicate balance of tension and desire that neither dared to address directly. One evening, after a particularly intense brainstorming session, they found themselves alone in the dimly lit office. The city lights twinkled outside, casting a warm glow in the space. Maya felt her pulse quicken as Victor stood close, the air thick with unspoken words. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like to leave all this behind?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes," he replied, his gaze steady. "But this life is all I've ever known. I can't escape it, and neither can you, not now." His words hung between them, heavy with implication. Maya felt a rush of emotions, fear, excitement, and an irresistible longing to bridge the gap that had formed with every stolen glance and lingering touch. But she also felt the weight of the world he was part of. She was a mere spectator, a woman from an ordinary life who had stumbled into a realm of shadows and power. "Victor, she started, but he cut her off with a finger to his lips, a gesture that sent her heart racing. "Don't say it. Not yet, not here. There's too much at stake." His voice was low, filled with an intensity that made her heart flutter with both anticipation and dread. Maya knew the stakes were high, but the connection they shared felt undeniable. She wanted to unravel the mystery that was Victor, to understand the man behind the boss, but the fear of what lay ahead held her back. As the days went by, their collaboration continued, and Maya found herself drawn deeper into his world, her feelings evolving into a dangerous mix of affection and trepidation. She couldn't ignore the moments they shared, the way he seemed to protect her fiercely, but at the same time, she couldn't dismiss the nagging doubts that lingered in the back of her mind. "Something about this isn't right," she muttered to herself one evening as she prepared to leave, the weight of her emotions heavy on her shoulders. Would she be able to navigate this treacherous path, or would she become another casualty of the world surrounding Victor? If you're enjoying the story, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. The tension in the air was palpable as Maya sat in the quiet confines of the bathroom, the sound of her own breathing the only thing breaking the silence. Tears streamed down her cheeks, a mix of confusion and fear swirling within her. She couldn't shake the weight of the revelations that had unfolded over the past few days. Victor was not just some charming man, he was a powerful figure in the Bratva, a world that was both intoxicating and terrifying. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Maya wiped her eyes, taking a deep breath as she splashed some cold water on her face. She looked at her reflection, her heart racing as she recalled the conversation they had just had. Victor had opened up about his past in a way that shook her to her core. She had never seen him vulnerable before, and it made her realize how precarious her situation truly was. What had she gotten herself into? "Are you okay in there?" Victor's voice came from outside the door, smooth yet laced with concern. The way he said her name sent a shiver down her spine. It was protective, possessive, and yet, it felt comforting in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. "I'm fine," she managed to say, her voice slightly shaky. She took another moment to compose herself before stepping out. The bathroom door creaked open, and she was met with Victor's intense gaze. He stood there, arms crossed, an imposing figure even in his casual attire. The sight of him made her heart flutter, even amidst the turmoil in her mind. "Fine doesn't look like this," he replied, his brow furrowed slightly in worry. "What's going on in that head of yours?" Maya hesitated. She wanted to scream, to ask him why he had to be so complicated, why his world had to be so dangerous. But instead, she found herself drawn to him, his presence both a balm and a storm. "It's just a lot to process," she admitted. "You opened up about everything. And I don't know how to feel about it." Victor stepped closer, his expression softening. "I didn't mean to overwhelm you. This life, it can be suffocating. I hate what it does to the people I care about." His voice dropped to a whisper, and Maya felt the weight of his words settle between them. "Do you care about me?" she asked, searching his eyes for the truth. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. "I do," he confessed, his gaze unwavering. "But you need to understand, being close to me comes with risks you can't even imagine." The gravity of his statement sent a chill down her spine, yet there was a flicker of warmth at the thought that he genuinely cared. "What kind of risks?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "People in my world don't play by the same rules. They'll see you as a weakness, and I can't let that happen," he said, the edge of his tone revealing the danger that surrounded him. "I need you to be strong, Maya. Stronger than you think you are." Maya swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. She had always prided herself on her strength, but this was a different kind of battle. "I don't know if I can be that strong," she admitted, her vulnerability spilling forth. Victor reached out, brushing a thumb against her cheek, his touch igniting a spark that traveled through her. "You're stronger than you realize. But I need you to trust me. Trust that I will do everything in my power to keep you safe." As he leaned in closer, the air crackled with an electric tension. The temptation to close the distance, to feel his lips against hers, was nearly overwhelming, but she managed to hold back. "What if your world pulls me in too deep?" Maya questioned, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Then you fight it," he replied fiercely, his eyes searching hers. "I won't let it consume you. Not as long as I'm breathing." The intensity of his conviction sent a rush of adrenaline through her veins. She wanted to believe him, to step into the unknown together, but doubts lingered like shadows in her mind. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed through the restaurant, and the moment shattered. Maya's heart raced as she exchanged a glance with Victor, who instantly shifted into a protective stance. "Stay close to me," he commanded, his voice low and serious. "What was that?" she asked, panic rising within her. "Just stay behind me," Victor replied, his demeanor changing completely. The calm, collected man she had been speaking to morphed into a fierce protector, the boss of the Bratva emerging as he took charge of the situation. Maya felt a surge of fear but also a sense of exhilaration. This was the man who commanded respect and instilled fear, and now, he was putting that power to use for her. As they moved cautiously toward the exit, she could hear murmurs and shouts from the dining area. "What's happening?" she whispered urgently, her mind racing with possibilities. Victor's eyes were sharp, scanning the room. "I don't know yet, but we need to get out of here." He took her hand, and the warmth of his grip enveloped her, grounding her amidst the chaos. They navigated through the restaurant, Victor leading the way with purpose. Maya's heart pounded as they approached the entrance, the sounds of commotion growing louder. She felt the reality of his world closing in on her, the danger tangible in the air. But even in the midst of uncertainty, the strength of his hand intertwined with hers offered a flicker of hope. As they reached the exit, Victor turned to her, his expression a mix of determination and concern. "Whatever happens next, I need you to stay close. Trust me." Her heart raced as she nodded, realizing that this moment would shape everything that followed. The world she had known felt like a distant memory, and the gravity of her feelings for Victor intensified. She was ready to face whatever lay ahead, even if it meant stepping further into the shadows of his dangerous life. Maya took a deep breath, pushing aside her fears, as they stepped into the unfolding chaos together. As Maya and Victor emerged from the chaotic restaurant, the world outside felt vastly different. The night air was thick with tension, and the sounds of the city buzzed in her ears, sirens wailing in the distance, the faint hum of traffic, and the chatter of people who were oblivious to the danger she had just escaped. Maya glanced up at Victor, his face a mask of concentration as he scanned the area, searching for any signs of trouble. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice steady and commanding. The way he said it sent a shiver down her spine, mixing fear with an undeniable thrill. She nodded, feeling a rush of adrenaline as she fell into step beside him. The warmth of his presence offered a strange comfort, even amidst the chaos. They walked briskly down the street, and Maya could feel the weight of his hand on her back, guiding her. It was a protective gesture, yet it also felt possessive. The duality of her feelings was overwhelming. She was both terrified and exhilarated by the closeness they shared. The memory of their heated argument just moments before flickered in her mind, a reminder of the stakes involved in this burgeoning relationship. As they rounded the corner, Victor suddenly stopped, pulling her into a narrow alleyway. The shadows enveloped them, creating a cocoon of secrecy. "We need to remain unseen for a moment," he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. Maya's heart raced as she pressed closer to him, a mix of fear and trust swirling within her. "What are we waiting for?" she asked, her curiosity piquing despite the fear that gripped her. "I just need to assess the situation," he replied, his eyes scanning the mouth of the alley. He was a striking figure, his stature commanding and his demeanor intense, but for the first time, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. It was a glimpse into the man behind the Mafia boss facade, and it stirred something deep within her. "Victor," she began, feeling the need to address the elephant in the room. "What is really going on? Who were those people? What do they want from you?" He turned to her, his jaw tightening as he considered his words. "There are people from my past who don't take kindly to those who leave. They want to make a statement, and I fear that you are now part of that." Maya felt her stomach drop at the implication of his words. "I never wanted any of this," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I was just living my life, and then you came into it." Victor stepped closer, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "And now you're part of mine, whether you like it or not." "Is that supposed to make me feel safe?" she challenged, a spark of defiance igniting within her. "It's the truth," he countered, his voice low and firm. "You need to understand that my world is dangerous, but I will do everything in my power to keep you safe." The weight of his promise settled on her, a heavy burden that both comforted and terrified her. What if it's too much?" she whispered, the vulnerability in her voice surprising even herself. "Then we face it together," he replied, his eyes softening as he reached for her hand. "But first, we need to get you out of here." Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the alleyway, pulling them both back into the present. Victor's expression shifted, his protective instincts kicking in as he stepped in front of her. "Stay behind me," he commanded, his voice a low growl. Maya's heart raced as she pressed against the wall, her breath caught in her throat. The footsteps grew louder, and the tension crackled in the air. Victor's body was tense, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. As the figures came into view, Maya felt a rush of fear. They were men she recognized from the charity event and Victor's previous conversations, the rivals, the ones who had been watching him. "Victor," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "Just trust me," he replied, his eyes narrowing as he took a step forward, confronting the group of men with an air of authority. "What do you want?" The leader, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek, smirked. "We're just here to have a little chat." "Not tonight," Victor shot back, his voice steady. "You need to leave. Now." The tension hung thick in the air, and Maya felt every second stretch into eternity. She could sense the power dynamic shifting, the danger escalating as the rival gang members exchanged glances, weighing their options. "Come on, Victor," the scarred man taunted. "You think you can keep your little plaything safe forever?" Maya's heart sank, the words cutting deeper than she expected. It was as if they recognized the truth of her vulnerability, her position in this dangerous game. "Don't you dare speak about her," Victor growled, stepping closer, every muscle in his body radiating aggression. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Maya felt the heat of Victor's anger, the intensity of his protective nature igniting something fierce within her. This was the man she had come to care for, who would stand up for her, even in the face of danger. "Let's go, Victor," she urged, her voice trembling but resolute. "We don't need to do this." But Victor shook his head, his eyes never leaving the rival gang. "We can't back down. Not now." Before she could respond, the situation escalated, and voices began to raise, a confrontation brewing just outside the alley. Maya felt the sharp edge of fear prickling at her consciousness, but beneath it was a flicker of resolve. She had chosen to stand by his side, and in that moment, she wasn't going to back down either. "Whatever happens, I'm with you," she declared, surprising herself with the strength of her words. Victor turned to her, his expression softening as he took her hand tightly in his. "Then stay close," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "We face this together." As the confrontation unfolded, Maya felt her heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos surrounding them, a blend of fear and fierce determination coursing through her veins. She was entering a world that was dark and dangerous, but with Victor by her side, she felt a newfound strength. "Let's do this," she whispered, ready to face whatever awaited them. As the chaos around them subsided, Maya finally took a breath, her heart still racing from the confrontation. It felt as if time had slowed down during those tense moments, where every decision made could have changed everything. Standing beside Victor, she began to understand the weight of the life he led, a life filled with shadows and danger, yet also with a fierce loyalty that made her heart swell. "Are you all right?" Victor asked, his voice low and steady, yet filled with concern. He was still on high alert, his eyes scanning the alley as if expecting another threat to emerge from the darkness. Maya nodded, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. "Yeah, I didn't expect things to escalate like that," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Victor turned to her, his expression softening. "You handled yourself well." "I can't say I was surprised, though. You've got a strength that shines through." A warmth spread through her at his words, and she felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. Perhaps they could face this together, as he had promised. "What now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We need to get out of here," he replied, his tone shifting back to that of a protector, the hard exterior returning. "The less time we spend in this area, the better. I don't want to risk anyone coming back." As they stepped out of the alley, Maya felt the cool night air wrap around her like a blanket, a stark contrast to the tension that had just unfolded. She glanced up at Victor, who was now focused on leading them away from danger. It was as if he had switched gears, shifting from the man who had let his guard down to reveal his vulnerabilities, to the formidable boss who commanded respect. They walked side by side, the silence between them heavy with unspoken words. Maya wanted to ask him about the scars from his past, the shadows that followed him, but she also didn't want to push too hard. The connection they shared was fragile, and she was acutely aware of how easily things could unravel. "You know," she started, breaking the silence, "I never thought I would end up in a situation like this. It's surreal." Victor glanced at her, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "I can assure you, it's not how I wanted to introduce you to my world." "Is it always like this?" she pressed, curiosity getting the better of her. "Danger lurking around every corner?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a sign of the tension still simmering beneath the surface. It can be. But I'm not willing to let it control my life or yours. I want to protect you from that. Maya felt a pang in her chest at his words. He was risking everything for her, yet she was drawn deeper into a world she hadn't asked to be a part of. And what if I don't want to be protected? What if I want to be a part of your life? Victor stopped walking, turning to face her fully. You have no idea what you're asking for, Maya. This life is filled with dangers you can't even begin to comprehend. But I'm already here, she insisted, her voice stronger now. You can't just push me away because it's easier for you. He studied her for a moment, the intensity of his gaze making her heart race. You're right. But I can't help but worry. It's my job to keep you safe. Before she could respond, they arrived at his car, a sleek black vehicle that exuded power and luxury. As they climbed inside, the atmosphere shifted again, the tension morphing into something more intimate. Where to? She asked, her fingers fidgeting with her hair, a nervous habit she couldn't shake off. Somewhere we can talk without the threat of being overheard, he replied, starting the engine. The hum of the car filled the silence as they drove through the city streets, the lights casting fleeting shadows across their faces. Maya turned to him, her heart pounding in her chest. Victor, I need to know more about you. About this life you keep mentioning. If I'm going to be part of it, I deserve to understand what I'm getting into. He glanced at her, his expression a mix of admiration and hesitation. You're brave, Maya. But bravery doesn't always equal safety. She leaned closer, the distance between them narrowing. Maybe I'm willing to take that risk. Victor's eyes flickered with something unreadable, and for a brief moment, she could see the conflict within him. You don't know what you're saying, he warned, his voice low. Maybe not. But I want to learn. Let me in, Victor. I want to understand you, this world, everything. He glanced away, focusing on the road ahead, but she could see the muscles in his jaw tense. It was as if he was wrestling with a decision that weighed heavily on his heart. Finally, he sighed, pulling into a secluded parking lot behind an upscale hotel. All right, he said, his gaze steady now. But know this, once you step inside, there's no turning back. Maya felt a rush of determination. I'm not afraid of the unknown. As they sat in the car, the gravity of the moment settled over them. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Victor turned to her, the intensity in his eyes igniting a fire within her. Then let's begin. With that, they exited the car, stepping into a world that was as thrilling as it was dangerous, where every choice they made could lead to unimaginable consequences. Maya felt a sense of exhilaration coursing through her, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, hand in hand with the man who had already changed her life beyond recognition. Maya stood at the edge of a precipice, her life transformed in ways she never thought possible. Just a few months ago, she was an ordinary woman, focused on her career and her dreams, but now the weight of her choices pressed heavily upon her. The journey from the bathroom, where she had witnessed the raw intensity of Victor's world, to this moment felt surreal. Each step she took alongside him seemed to echo with the unspoken promises and dangers that lay ahead. As she reflected on her transformation, memories flooded her mind. The first time she laid eyes on Victor, his magnetic presence had drawn her in like a moth to a flame. She remembered the way he commanded attention in the charity event, the mixture of danger and allure he exuded. It was a thrilling yet terrifying feeling, and even now, as they stood together, the gravity of their situation was palpable. Maya had learned so much about Victor and the world he inhabited, a world filled with shadows and secrets that often felt suffocating. But she also felt a kinship with him that surpassed the chaos around them. They had shared moments of vulnerability, glimpses into each other's souls that built an undeniable bond between them. She had seen the man beneath the boss, the protector hiding behind layers of armor, and it changed everything. Are you sure about this? Victor's voice broke through her thoughts, his gaze searching hers with a mixture of concern and determination. Yes, she replied, her voice steady. I'm ready to embrace whatever comes next. He nodded slowly, the muscles in his jaw tightening. Once you step into this world, there's no going back. It can be dangerous, unpredictable. I understand, she insisted, feeling a swell of courage rising within her. But I'm not afraid. I want to be with you, Victor. I want to understand everything. His expression softened, and for a fleeting moment, the tough exterior slipped away. You're braver than I ever imagined, he said, admiration glowing in his eyes. Maya felt a rush of warmth at his words. She had never thought of herself as particularly brave, but something about their connection ignited a fire within her. I believe in us, she said, stepping closer, closing the distance between them. Victor reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle yet electrifying. This isn't just about us. There are risks that come with my world, and I can't guarantee your safety. Then let me face those risks with you, she insisted, her heart racing. I won't let fear dictate my choices. I choose you. The weight of her declaration hung in the air, heavy with implications. Victor studied her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. He seemed to grapple with her words, as if weighing the gravity of the decision before them. All right, he finally said, his voice low and resolute. But if we're doing this, we do it together. No holding back. Maya smiled, relief washing over her. Together. As they stood in that parking lot, the city lights twinkling around them, it felt like the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The night was filled with possibilities, and though the road ahead was fraught with challenges, she felt ready to face whatever came their way. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear, she thought to herself, considering how their story would resonate with others. With their hands intertwined, they stepped away from the confines of their pasts and into the uncertainty of the future. They were bound together by more than just their feelings, they were now partners in a world that demanded strength and resilience. Victor led her to a private entrance of the upscale hotel, the air thick with anticipation. As they walked through the luxurious hallway, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of empowerment. She was no longer just a spectator in her own life, she was an active participant, ready to carve her path alongside Victor. They entered a dimly lit lounge, where the ambience was both inviting and dangerous. The soft glow of the candles flickered, casting shadows that danced across the walls. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the room around her. People came and went, each with their own stories, their own secrets. Victor guided her to a private booth, his hand resting protectively on her back. This is where we can talk freely, he said, his tone serious. Talk about what? Maya asked, curiosity piquing her interest. About our future, about what this means for both of us, he replied, his gaze steady. Maya felt her heart race at the prospect. They had come so far, and yet she knew this was just the beginning. I want to know everything, Victor. The good, the bad, all of it. He nodded, the weight of his world settling between them. Then let's start with the truth. This life, it's not just a game. It involves choices that can change everything. They delved into deep conversation, sharing stories that revealed their pasts, their fears, and their hopes. With each word, Maya felt more entwined with Victor, more a part of his world, and it invigorated her spirit. As the night wore on, they laughed, shared memories, and began to envision a future together. The connection between them grew stronger, a tapestry woven with honesty and trust. Maya realized that while the path ahead might be fraught with uncertainty, she was ready to embrace it all. She was no longer just a woman caught in the crossfire of a dangerous world, she was a partner, a confidant, and a lover. Their story was just beginning, and with every beat of her heart, she felt more alive, more herself than ever before. The thrill of the unknown no longer terrified her, it exhilarated her. The future loomed large and bright, and Maya was ready to face it head-on, alongside Victor, the man who had changed her life forever.